The Walking Dead Season 5 finale is over, but we're just getting started here on Walking Dead Live. Live! Yes, that's right. And here are the two guys who are always going to be cleaning Carol's dishes, whether we use them or not. I'm Rob Cesternino. Here's Josh Wigler. Josh, how are you?
I'm doing well. Wait, we have to do chores on this podcast?
Yes, well, you don't have to, or you just face the consequences from Carol.
If I don't do chores, do I get stabbed with a knife or threatened with a knife?
Well, you could not do your chores and get stabbed with a knife, or you could do your chores and you can get cookies. What sounds better to you, Josh?
All right, I'll do chores.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to go with chores.
That's good. Oh, Carol. Carol is so good.
The best character on The Walking Dead. If you're saying that any character on The Walking Dead is a better character than Carol, then you are wrong, and you are a liar, and we cannot be friends.
She's the best. There are several really great characters
But
right
she's
now.
number one. She's number one.
She's number one, and I don't think it's close.
Yeah, listen, Sunshine. Carol is number one, and all others are number two or lower.
What they've done with her on this show after, not really knowing what to do with her early on is incredible.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, and she's terrific. She had several breakout moments throughout this entire season, and tonight there are just some really great. Her with Dr. Douche was really great. Everything about Carol is fantastic. This is a huge episode, big episode, crazy finale that happened tonight. Rob, so much to talk about.
Plenty to talk about here on Walking Dead Live, and we are going to be interacting with you and hearing what you guys have to say as well. We've got the chat room open on postshowrecaps.com. We'll take your tweets at PSRecaps, hashtag PSRecaps, and then also on our YouTube channel at postshowrecaps.com/YouTube. It's the last live Walking Dead show of the season, and we have a lot to talk about on a night. Just to go through the headlines, Morgan is back.
He's back.
But so are the Wolves.
Yeah.
That's a downer.
Yeah, they've arrived, really. I mean, we hadn't seen these guys before, so we can finally give you some first impressions of those guys.
Yes. Also, Rick is accepted by the Alexandria crew.
Yeah, I think we're giving thumbs up to Rick Grimes. I think Rick Grimes is here to stay.
They came around. The big death of the night that I'm sure everybody is going to be very upset about. That Reg is dead.
Reg. No,
Reg.
I thought you were gonna mention the Red Poncho guy. I was really bummed out about Red Poncho.
Man, everybody on their Walking Dead death pool tonight. If you had Red Poncho guy and Reg, you were a happy camper.
Yeah, you won. You win the big bucks.
Yeah. You knew Reg when he started giving that speech about what civilization is, and you knew he wasn't long for this world.
Yeah. That's really sad. I mean, Reg had lost so much recently. He lost his actual son, and then he loses somebody who may be, the person that he can groom in terms of taking over how to build these walls here in Noah. And now he's gone. So who's going to build these walls? Who's going to figure this thing out?
I don't know.
I don't know.
A big night, a lot of things to talk through. Josh, what was your favorite thing about the finale?
My favorite thing about the finale is, aside from Carol, who's the best, my favorite thing about the finale was Morgan and his Donatello stick.
Yeah, boy, what's Morgan's background on the martial arts?
I don't know. I mean, listen, he was by himself for a long time. He had, the complete run of his town. He could do whatever he wants. I would not be surprised if he just hooked up a VCR, a TV set, just found a lot of self-instructional, teach yourself how to do bow staff martial arts books and videotapes, and just taught himself how to do that stuff. He had a lot of free time.
Yeah, he
And
really.
maybe some of that's improvised. Who knows?
He really demonstrated a proficiency with that bow. Is that what he's like in the comics?
I don't think that. I mean, if you consider this a spoiler or whatever, he does not. This was a surprise to me. Bow Staff Morgan was a treat. That was really delightful.
He's very impressive.
Yeah.
He's a very impressive guy, Morgan. Even more impressive.
Well, it's great. I mean, this show has some pretty iconic zombie-killing weapons. We've got Michonne with her katana and Daryl with his crossbow. And I'm very happy to have Morgan's bow staff along for the ride. I feel like that's a good weapon to introduce to the mix.
Okay. So we had Michonne's sword also back in play. That was a big factor in the closing moments of the show as well.
Yeah, no, that was huge. What did you think of that?
I'm not a fan of the Pete stuff. I still think that
Well,
that
the Pete
was
stuff's over. Pete's gone.
good. I'm glad the Pete stuff is over, and that he came in. What was he drunk to the
Yeah, he wasn't sober, Rob. I think
Yeah.
that guy was a few sheets to the wind for sure.
He came in and then with the sword and poor Reg had to bear the brunt of it.
That sucked. I was a big Reg fan. I liked Reg. I liked
You
Reg's.
were?
Yeah, I loved Reg. Reg was
What did he
great.
do that you liked him?
Listen, I'm not trying to say that he brought me early morning breakfast of steel cut oats before this podcast earlier today, but he may have done that and tempted me to say this tonight, that Reg is the best.
Okay. All right.
No, he was
So
great. He was nice. He seemed like a nice guy. He built those walls. He's a big part of the reason why Alexandria exists. It was very sad. Listen, I like having some old men on The Walking Dead. I feel like the old wise man is a good character on this show. And it was definitely a bit of a bummer that he went out the way he did.
see, I felt like the show didn't treat him as wise. I felt like they treated him as sort of like snooty, and that they wanted it was almost like that he was resisting the dictatorship. You still there, Josh? Uh-oh. All right, maybe it's the dictatorship got to me. Let's see if while we're trying to get Josh back, let's see if we can go to a question here early on. Josh, what happened?
Yes, I'm back. I don't know. I think Morgan took a bow staff to my internet connection.
Okay.
Apologies for that, everyone.
All right, no problem. I was just saying about Reg that I just felt like the show really depicted him as sort of like a snooty guy who was sort of the anti-Rick.
But he was impressed with Rick. He liked Rick. Remember the dinner party? He was like, "Whoa, I mean, what I've done was pretty cool, but Rick, you have saved people. You've done some crazy nonsense out on that road." I think he liked Rick.
Yeah, I mean that he had a line tonight in the episode. He talked about, the cavemen, they were nomads and they died. They all died.
Right.
Civilization started when we stopped running. When I just felt like they felt, I felt like we got a negative edit for Reg.
A negative edit for Reg.
Yeah, I thought he got the bad edit. I thought he got the loser edit. Yeah, I thought he's like that. He wasn't a man's man.
He wasn't a man's man.
He was part of the old guard.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think as far as old wise men who've had their heads cut off with Michonne's sword, I think that Herschel is still the winner.
Okay.
I don't think that. I think that guy over your shoulder right there. I think that I care more about him than Reg.
Poor Herschel.
Poor Herschel.
Okay. Let's talk about Father Gabriel, because maybe you could help me make some sense of what's going on with Father Gabriel.
Well, before I make sense of anything for you, I know what was going on through my mind as I was watching everything that Father Gabriel was up to tonight. I just want to hear some glimpse into what your stream of consciousness was as Father Gabriel was just douching around all over this episode.
Yeah, I sort of went back and forth. I was like, oh, Father Gabriel, he's not who he says he is. Father Gabriel's a bad guy. Father Gabriel's a bad guy. But then, no, not quite. And then I was like, oh, Father Gabriel is secret. He's the mole. He's secretly working with Rick. This is all part of the plan, what he did. That he told Deanna that Rick can't be trusted, and he left the gate open so Rick could save the day. And then once he was talking with Sasha, then I'm like, no, Father Rick is just a douche.
Yeah. Father Gabriel's just a douche. I think that's what it boils down to.
What's the problem? What is wrong with this guy?
He walks out of Alexandria with no weapons, with nothing. He declares that he's finally ready to die. He changes his mind. It would have been great if he hadn't. Although I will say, this is a guy who had never killed anything before, hadn't killed a human, hadn't killed a walker, hadn't killed anything before. As far as your first kill goes, that was pretty badass.
Yeah, pretty badass death scene for the zombie versus Father Gabriel.
That was pretty good. But then, he doesn't die like he should have, and then he comes back and he leaves the frickin' gate open. And almost everybody else could have died if it wasn't for Rick going around and exploding zombie heads with his bare hands.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Father Gabriel's a jerk. He could have really set Sasha up to look pretty horrible as well. So yeah, it probably would have been better for everybody involved if Gabriel had just walked up to that walker and let it do its thing.
Yeah, and then I really thought that Maggie was going to kill Father Gabriel.
Yeah, for a minute there, if he had said yeah, well, I left the gate open, I'm a real douche. You would have thought that maybe she would have just said, yeah, I'm probably just gonna shoot you right now. This seems like the thing to do.
Yeah, I really was surprised there was so much forgiveness at the end of the episode. I mean, one, you had Deanna forgiving Rick for everything that went on. Then you had Father Gabriel getting basically a pass from Sasha, who had him at gunpoint, and they let him go. But maybe the most curious of all is the protracted battle between Glenn and Nicholas in the woods, which went on for hours and hours.
The deliverance scene?
and then ultimately, Glenn carries Nicholas back to Alexandria.
Yeah, bad choice.
Yeah, I mean,
bad choice. He should have. I don't think that he should have shot Nicholas in the head because that would have attracted noise. But he should have just punched him in the brain. Probably I don't know, somewhere in. I would give it a ballpark figure of between 12 and 1,200 punches to the face to knock his brain in. That's probably what Nicholas deserved right there.
I mean, I don't know what Glenn is thinking there. I mean, do we need to get Cavendish to come and have a moment with Glenn?
Yeah, I think maybe. I think that might be good therapy for a lot of these people, frankly. Forget Father Gabriel and his therapies and get him out of there. Bring frickin' Cavendish back to life. That guy could talk some sense into a lot of people. But Glenn especially, yeah, Glenn needs to know that he can't be the guy who saves the babies. You can't save the babies. If you save the babies, you go the way of Tyrese. And Nicholas is a baby if I've ever seen one. This guy he's responsible for the death of Noah for sure. He's at least partly responsible for Aiden's death. He shot Glenn in the shoulder, and now Glenn's just going to let this guy off the hook after he had already admitted to Rick, maybe I should have left him out there. I could have come up with a story. Glenn, dude, you can leave this guy out here dead and come up with a story. No one's going to ask questions, especially after what Rick does here. And the worst case scenario that you guys are already facing is exile because of what Rick did. Just kill this guy. Just get it over with. Just do it.
Yeah, I really did not understand that whole thing. And also, this guy is really kind of a wuss that, he shot Glenn and Glenn still kicked his butt.
Oh, he rocked him. Not only that, but it's a testament to how much of a wuss Nicholas is, but how much of a badass Glenn is that with a gunshot wound to his shoulder, he was getting mobbed by all these walkers and has seemingly walked away from that with no problem.
Yeah, I felt like they really cheated and gave us that Glenn was going to be dead, and then he wasn't, with seemingly no explanation. I don't know how Glenn came out of the situation he was in not being dead.
I don't know that I need to see what Glenn did to get out of that situation. I'm okay with this show yada yadaing sometimes because we can just assume that many of our characters are just such badasses that they'll get out of these jams. I really enjoyed watching Rick squeeze a walker's head beyond the point of recognition so that he got all that zombie goo on his face. But I don't need to see that all the time, and I didn't need to see Glenn destroying every single one of these walkers because it's just Glenn. Glenn is a badass. He's been on the road with Rick for a long time, and he's capable of doing that, and he's certainly capable of outlasting a guy like Nicholas. So I was okay with it. That worked for me.
Yeah, not to harp on that for too long. It's just that, you're creating all this tension that looks like Glenn is about to be dead, and then we just come back later and he was fine.
That's not how Glenn's going to go, though.
You knew that wasn't how he was going to go, but yeah. It's just they just sort of they show us our hero goes into a room with, a bunch of bad guys with guns, and then he's just, in the next scene, he's just out of the room, Right, whatever. Okay, so Father Gabriel is forgiven. Nicholas is forgiven. Rick is forgiven. So much forgiveness in.
Who are you forgiving tonight, Rob? Anybody that you were angry with going into this finale that you are prepared to forgive?
No, no. There's nobody,
No
nobody that I'm
forgiveness.
gonna forgive. I would say, if anything, I would say Rick. I was very hard on Rick after the last episode, and also after the last feedback show, and I just felt like that Rick wasn't doing what was in the best interest of the group, and and maybe it really was that Rick really was confused, where Carol summed it up, and in a really great way when she said to him, you don't want to lie and you don't want to take this place. Oh, sunshine, you don't get both.
Yeah.
And I think that Rick was in his mind thinking that there was going to be some third thing that he could do and get people to do it his way. And ultimately, that is kind of what happens.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But I think what he ends up doing is kind of what we were talking about last week and on the feedback show of, like, what Rick is saying is not wrong, but the way that Rick is saying it is not good.
Right.
And that's what Michonne says to him, too. Michonne's like, I knocked you out for you. I didn't knock you out because I disagree with you. And Rick shows up and he has concrete proof to bring to these people at the end of the episode of, like, I'm right. Everything that I've said is correct. I'm not sorry for what I said. I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner. And he's saying it in, again, he's covered in blood, but the message that he is delivering to these people is done in just like a more concise way. And even earlier in the episode, Rick admits to the group when they all come to visit him when he's waking up, he's like, I screwed up. What do you want me to say? I screwed up. And I think he gets that now. And I think that he comes to them at the end of this episode with the same philosophy, but delivered in a way that makes sense to everybody. So I think that Rick, I'm thumbs up on Rick after being thumbs sideways to down on Rick.
Yeah, if I'm going to propose a bill at the next Alexandria Town Council meeting, I think it would be this: of unless you're on like some sort of sanctioned mission, nobody's allowed to leave. Like,
Sure.
We're not going to keep opening the gate. Open and close it, because it just, the walkers are going to get in. Why did Nicholas have to leave?
Well, you
Where's he
mean
going?
why did he leave in this past episode?
Yes.
So that he could lure Glenn out into the open and shoot him to death.
He climbed the fence so he knew Glenn would follow him?
Yeah.
Are you making that up?
No, I mean, listen, is it plausible? Maybe not. You can take that up with the writers, but that seems to be what happened there. It wasn't just Nicholas leaving to leave. He's trying to lure Glenn out so that he can murder him.
But he wasn't like, hey, Glenn, I'm like, come get me. I'm over the fence.
Take it up with the writers. That's what's going on.
I'm going to file.
Lodge your complaint with Scott Gimple
makes
and Robert Kirkman. But that is what happened.
That makes no sense to me. Let's talk about the Rick and Michonne relationship.
Sure, let's do it. Rashone.
Are we back on? Are we?
Yeah, we're on. Rashone's on. We're on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Michonne, I really agreed with her much more throughout all this. Where I said either the plan is like get with the program here in Alexandria, or scheme and plot to take over Alexandria and make them think that you're going along with what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like Michonne kind of got that. I felt like she was somebody who was, sensible through this whole matter.
Yeah, I thought that she was great tonight. To the point, did you stick around for the post credits, Rob?
Yes.
To the point that she's picked up the sword again. She's back on message.
She's back on point.
Yeah, she's got this.
I feel like the stage is set now where Rick is now going to have to get Alexandria into gear to get them ready for the imminent attack from the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we really haven't even talked about the Wolves much yet, and I feel like that's a big headline that we should definitely dive into.
Let's dive into it. The Wolves, we got to see a lot of what they're doing in this episode. We got to see one of the Wolves up close and personal with Morgan. We got to see one of their traps in what happens with Daryl and Aaron. And then also we saw them and just how brutal they are with Red Poncho Guy.
Yeah. Was there any part of you that thought that Aaron or Daryl was going to get toasted here in this episode when they got caught up in the trap of the Wolves?
Yeah, I didn't get what Daryl and Aaron were thinking, where it was like they were in the car for how long? 30 minutes tops?
A long time. Yeah, a little while. Like at least
A
a half
little,
hour.
at least a half hour. And I think they were just like, well, I guess it's time to die now. Like, I would have said, let's give it a day. Let's wait it out for a bit.
Give it a day.
Yeah, maybe they'll get distracted. Maybe they'll go somewhere.
Yeah, that might have been nice. That might have been a plan.
Like, I would have said, oh boy, 30 minutes, but all right, let's just go die now.
I don't know. I think it's probably pretty hard to be that calm in a car that is surrounded by an ocean of walkers. I don't know if anyone's thinking super rationally in that moment.
Well,
you know,
I would have been like, you know what? I'm gonna try to die as late as possible, not sooner.
Would you have at least, if you're Aaron and Daryl is offering, just let me finish my cigarette and then I'm gonna run out and just distract everybody? Would you have taken him up on that offer?
Yes.
You would have said, cool, Daryl, I knew that I recruited you to be a recruiter for a reason.
I'd say, you know what, Daryl? Why don't you finish the pack?
Yeah.
But you know what? Maybe you might not run that fast if you smoke too much. So maybe 2, and then that's it.
Yeah. I like a one and done. I think that the one cigarette was a good call.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
Do one. But were you worried for them at all? Did you think that one of them would not make it out of that situation?
A little bit. Only a little bit. But again, I felt like that Daryl had immunity tonight because he was being billed as a guest on Talking Dead.
That's why I was worried. I thought that we were finally going to lose Daryl Dixon tonight, and that we were gonna have to do the post-mortem with him on Talking Dead.
Yeah. Jason in the chat room says they saw the note that said it was a trap. Can you explain the trap to me? Like, because I really don't understand. It seems like a very elaborate way to, get the wolves to just kill like a couple people.
It seems pretty elaborate as well to me. We don't really know what the wolves are after, other than they seem to be like, listen, we're gonna take everything that you have, including you. Why they're doing all of this, why they are taking all of these things is up for debate still. But in terms of that specific trap, I don't know. I mean, you have to be somebody like Daryl Dixon and like Aaron. Two of these guys who are pretty badass and capable of defending themselves to get to the car. Otherwise, they're just going to get mobbed by walkers and killed really quickly. So if this is a plan that the wolves are hatching, if this trap is meant to ensnare live human beings, I feel like you got to iron out some kinks there, wolves. I feel like this plan 9 times out of 10 just results in whoever triggers the trap just getting eaten alive within 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was just like, boy, that was easy. Like,
it's just like a lot of effort for just like, I don't know, something you could probably do, just like trap a guy and just kill him really quickly. I don't know why they're going through all of those motions, but it seems like they just these wolves are sadistic. I don't know that there's too much rhyme or reason to what they're doing.
Yeah, Will Northrup says Rube Goldberg runs the Wolves. Is that true?
Yeah, I could see that.
That being said, the part where they were like resetting the trap was awesome.
That was really cool. But I guess so. How do we want to prioritize what walkers are into? We know that they like to eat. Mm-hmm. We know that they are attracted to fire. Apparently, they're also attracted to like smooth music.
Yeah, music and lights.
Like sweet, sweet jams and lights.
Yeah. Of the senses, I mean, what's tops for the walkers? Is it sight, sound, smell?
Smell? Well, maybe not with the whole Carl and Enid thing from last week. They didn't.
Where
smell
was
that
Enid?
out.
No closure on the Enid story.
Well, Enid will live to die another day, probably, right? We'll see her again next season, I assume.
Yeah. So. Well, what's tops? Is it sight or is it sounds? I think sound seems like that's number one.
I think that it's smell. I think that smell is number one, and I think you get that from as early on as the second episode of The Walking Dead, when Glenn and Rick are walking in a pack of walkers covered in zombie guts, and that is how they are able to blend in. So I think that the smell is number one.
Well, why didn't they kill Carl and Enid then when they were in the train?
Because they were too far away. We talked about this on the feedback show.
Okay. All right.
No need to to beat a dead, I don't know. What was dead in this episode? A dead reg. No need
Well,
to beat a dead reg.
yeah, walkers will eat a dead horse.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that makes me sad. Poor
That,
Buttons. R.I.P. Buttons.
that poor horse.
I know.
Okay.
But what did you think of the Wolves? I mean, this is how it was going to go. Either the Wolves were going to get introduced in this episode and killed off really quickly, or it was going to be a tease of the Wolves, and we were going to have to wait until season 6 to get a better understanding of these characters. And the final shot of season 5 is back at their trap, and it's a look at the car saying the Wolves are near. So clearly the Wolves are going to be a big deal in season 6. What did you think of this first glance at these new villains?
I mean, they seem terrifying. Could you explain to me? So the guys who are the Wolves, they put the W on their own head?
It looked like it.
But then the people that are but is that with like a knife, or does that happen after they kill you?
Well, I mean, these people were alive. So,
but they
I
look
assume
like
that it was done before they died.
But it seemed like it was more of a. I mean, was that like a scar on their head, or
Yeah, it looked like it looked like it had been scarred for a little while. It looks like it had been carved into their foreheads some time ago.
Okay, because these walkers that we see, it looks like that's sort of more of a fresh wound.
Yes, a fresh flesh wound. Yeah, it does look like that. And it looks like they like to brand people, whether or not these are they're marking people that they want to work with, or they are just putting their mark into their victims. I don't know. I mean, in terms of like their methods and what they want and what they're up against and what they're willing to do, we still just don't know a whole lot.
Yeah. Now, what was interesting with the wolf that attacked Morgan? The one guy was interacting with Morgan, and the other guy came from around, and Morgan tried to tell them to stop. They didn't stop. They came after him. Morgan kicked their butt. They had a gun that was unloaded.
Yes. Correct.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. Well, it makes you wonder what their supply situation is like, right?
Yeah.
Is it just a lot of scare tactics? Do they not even really have bullets on hand?
They spent a lot of time setting up that soup can trap.
Yeah. I think that's where all their energy goes.
They put all their energy to that.
Yeah, all their energy that they could be putting to good use, like getting weapons, rounding up weapons, they actually just put into effect to set up elaborate pranks.
And they got Poncho Guy.
Poor Poncho Guy.
Do you think we will have seen the last of Poncho Guy?
Yeah, he got his throat slit.
But as a walker.
As a walker, you think we'll see Walker Poncho Guy?
Yeah.
Maybe. I would sign that campaign if there's a campaign that's going around tomorrow morning to bring back Poncho Guy.
Yeah. Walker Poncho Guy is to The Walking Dead as the girl with the red dresses in Schindler's List.
Right.
We're just gonna see him later on.
Yeah, that'll be a visual.
Powerful.
Yeah, when next season of The Walking Dead is all black and white until we get Red Poncho Guy come back to bring color back into the world.
No, not Red Poncho Guy.
Yeah. Well, red ponchos are the new red shirts, I guess.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, if you're running around wearing a red poncho, you should be worried.
Anything else about the Wolves tonight?
No, they just seem absolutely terrifying, and I think whether it's a two-man operation or there's a lot more of them, I don't know, but it was pretty intense. I kind of thought that Morgan wasn't going to make it out of that first scene alive, and for a second there I was thinking, like, all of this build-up for Morgan to just get shot in the face right now, wasn't the most far-fetched thing on the planet, but I'm glad he made it out of there. Not for nothing, just having that badass stick fighting scene, but I really was pretty worried for him. Got to be honest.
And so Morgan ends up kicking the asses of those two Wolves guys. He takes the rabbit's foot. What's the significance of the rabbit's foot for Morgan?
It's his lucky rabbit's foot.
Is it lucky rabbit's foot? Do you think we'll see more of the rabbit's foot?
I would like to think so. I mean, there's a lot about Morgan that we got to see now. Now that Morgan is actually speaking. This episode is the first time Morgan's actually talking on The Walking Dead since we saw him in season 3. Even though we saw him a couple times already this season. So we're finding a little more out about Morgan. He seems much more at peace than he was when we saw him in Clear. He's talking about how everything returns and how all life is precious. He goes out of his way to not kill these two wolves. He just beats the crap out of them. He leaves them alive. Although I do wonder if he was honking that horn to lure walkers to them, which would be kind of sadistic, but that's neither here nor there. Either way, he seems more at peace than when we last saw him. So I want to know why. I want to know what he's been up to. I do want to know how he knows all of those badass martial arts. There's a lot more to know about Morgan. I'm really pumped to have him in the group now. And you got to imagine Morgan's a series regular next season, right?
Yes, most definitely.
You don't do all this build-up, bringing Morgan back into the mix if you don't have a bigger plan for him for next year. I think that he's got to be a huge part of Season 6.
Now, Morgan says the line about how all life is precious, correct?
Yeah.
And so...
Based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Yes. And so... Then he ends up going all this way. He traveled all the way because the world needs more men like Rick Grimes, and finds this person who probably has been built up so much in his mind of the world needs more men like Rick Grimes, covered in zombie guts, and executes a man right in front of him.
Yeah.
Morgan says all life is precious.
Yes.
We can't be killing people.
Yeah.
How will this go over with Mr. Morgan?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think that that's going to be an interesting conversation, leading us into Season 6 of, Rick has kind of determined that what he has just done to Pete, executing this guy at a town meeting in front of his family. I mean, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I imagine his kids were probably there, right? Maybe not. Maybe his kids were at home asleep. But either way,
I didn't see Sam.
All right. Well, his wife was there at the very least. He's executing a man in front of a bunch of people who have not really seen a whole lot of this behavior before. And Rick would label this as the civilized thing to do. This is civilization now. Executing a man in the street. Not in broad daylight, but if he had had his druthers, it would have been broad daylight the other day. This is civilized to Rick. How is that going to jive with a guy who views life as precious? All life is precious. I'm excited to get that answer. I think that the Rick and Morgan scenes that we have had in the past have been some of the greatest scenes that we have ever had on The Walking Dead. For my money, I think that first episode of The Walking Dead, the pilot episode of The Walking Dead, is as strong as it is, not because of Andrew Lincoln, but because of Lenny James as Morgan Jones. I think that the Morgan portions of the first episode of the show are the best parts of that episode, and some of the best scenes we ever get in this show. I think Clear remains a top-tier episode of this show, so having Morgan in the mix, the promise of more scenes between him and Rick going forward into Season 6 and asking these kinds of philosophical questions of, is this civilized, or is there another way? And to have somebody who Rick has history with, from the earliest days that he can remember of this zombie apocalypse, be the guy to ask those questions, I think could be really, really cool going into the next season.
Okay, so we'll see more about Morgan going forward into next season. Let's bounce around a little bit. Can we talk about Sasha?
Yeah, let's talk about Sasha.
Okay, so the Sasha thing is getting wackier and wackier. We've seen her now. She's executing these walkers out in the woods. This week she digs a big hole.
Yes.
Puts all the walker bodies into it, and then takes naps on the walkers.
The walking bed.
The walking bed. That's great. So what is going on here with Sasha?
She's tired.
Yeah.
You got to take a nap. You got to listen. She needs some peace and quiet. She feels like she is dead, like she's dead inside. It's if you want to, pin the metaphor on the donkey, it's very much Sasha is feeling very hollow inside, has been very lost for a long time. She's spent pretty much all of her time since being in Alexandria trying to kill stuff. She's gone out on hunts, leaving her post, just going around shooting walkers in the head. She feels unable to connect with people. She feels so angry and so lost, and she probably feels the most like herself when surrounded by the dead. So she buries them in this big pit, and she hangs out with the dead people in the pit because she probably feels like that's where she belongs. Not to say that any of that behavior is normal, but I think that's what's going on with Sasha right now. I don't think that there's a whole lot of normal in her world right now.
Maybe Sasha is sort of like, man, I can't believe there's all these walkers around. This is horrible. And then she channeled like the ghost of Blue Sky Bob. He's like, well, if there's so many dead walkers, why not take them and make a bed out of them?
Yeah, why not make a bed?
Why not sleep on them? They look so comfortable.
Yeah, it's a great idea, Blue Sky Bob. I like that.
Blue Sky Bob, that his words echo here in the season finale. That he says, no, this isn't life. This is a nightmare. A nightmare's end.
Yeah. Yeah, we heard this from him back in the day when he was still alive and kicking, as in he had both of his legs. That was Bob. That was what Bob had said to Rick, and those words are reverberating in Rick after Rick had so casually come up with this idea of, well, if the meeting goes wrong, we'll just take a few hostages, we'll slit some throats if we have to. Rick is thinking about that a little bit more, and Blue Sky Bob is speaking to him. He's getting a little bit of that feedback, and he's realizing, maybe I do have to think about this differently. Rather than coming to the meeting and killing some of these people in order to save the rest, how about I just tell everybody how it really is, and let's see if we can all stick together.
But I felt also like Father Gabriel was way out of bounds just for talking about the death of Bob. I mean, how does he lay that at the feet of Sasha?
He's trying to get her to kill him.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, he's antagonizing her. He wants to die. He doesn't have the courage to do it. I think when he goes up to the walker, I think probably a big part of why he doesn't go through with his whole I'm ready thing is because he gets cold feet. He gets terrified. He's too chicken shit to die at the jaws of a walker. He can't do it. That's too much of like a slow death. Okay. He doesn't have it in him, and I think that he is trying to get Sasha to shoot him in the head right there.
So
that's why he says. That's why he says to Maggie. He says to Maggie, you should have let her do it.
When he has a noose, was he going out into the woods to hang himself?
No, he gets the noose. I don't think the noose was his. The noose was around the neck of the walker that he kills.
Okay.
Yeah, he's trying to go out there to find a walker to kill him. He wants a walker to eat him. That's why he calls out to the walker. He whistles at the walker. He approaches the walker, and then the walker gets close enough to him, and Father Gabriel, unfortunately comes to his senses and probably realizes, oh, wait, that would really suck to die this way.
Yeah,
I hate myself, but I don't hate myself that much.
Isn't the dumbest suicide?
Is that the dumbest suicide?
Yeah. Like, wouldn't that be the worst way to...
You have to really hate yourself to want to do that.
Maybe he hates himself.
And I mean, he really hates himself, but I think that more than he hates himself, he is a total weak coward, and doesn't have it in him to withstand the physical pain of what that's going to involve, of dying at a zombie's hands. It's not pleasant. It's not quick. So I think that he goes and he's very frustrated. He's very angry. He's feeling all of his stupid Father Gabriel feelings, and he goes to his church, and Sasha's there, and he's had it. He's had it up to here with these mother-loving Alexandrians and these Rick people and all of these people, and he's done with it. And he shows up, he sees Sasha there, and he just tells her how he sees it. And he, the more and more he tells her how he sees it, the more and more it's clear that Sasha is in a position to just shoot him in the face. And I think that that's what he wants right there. I think he just wants it to end pretty quick.
I want to talk about tonight's Tribal Council.
Yes, of course. Okay.
All right, so we go to Tribal, and we're going to make this decision about everything. And who did you really like what they said at Tribal?
I enjoyed Carol. As always, I tend to enjoy Carol the most, just because I really liked how Carol's like, we need people like Rick out there. People like Rick protect people like me and people like the rest of us. We can't do what Rick can do. And just knowing what Carol is truly capable of and hearing her, put that. I love Carol when she's in like Alexandria Carol mode. I think that that's a really fun speed for the character. So I just liked that smoke screen she was putting up there. I thought it was really funny. Abraham was great as well.
Abraham was great. Abraham says there's a vast ocean of S that
Yeah.
you don't know S about.
Yes.
Rick knows every grain of that S.
Yes. He
Right.
truly does. He truly does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was straight and to the point. I appreciated that. I liked that a lot. And
Me too.
Maggie did a great job too. Although, when Deanna busts out that line about, I got to tell you guys what Father Gabriel told me, it's kind of like, well, Maggie, you could have warned these people.
Yeah, Maggie does nothing with the Father Gabriel information. And then I thought that was going to be the motive why she was going to kill Father Gabriel when she found him. And instead, she just goes back to the prayer circle. I really, I don't understand why the show had Maggie overhear that information if she was not going to have anything to do with it.
I guess the only thing I can think of is that, she ultimately forgives Father Gabriel for everything that he's done. She chooses not to kill him there. She chooses to still after all of this, to welcome him back into the group. And, if the show clearly wants to have Father Gabriel around for a little bit longer, and if Maggie hears that information and she goes and she gives that information to basically anybody else in the group, it probably does not end well for Gabriel. So I think the show just really wants him around still.
Okay.
But I mean, listen, Rob, I'm with you. I don't know why they had Maggie hear about that Father Gabriel thing and just never do anything with it. I still think that was a misfire.
Okay, so let's talk about Abraham and Eugene. And this was one of my other favorite scenes of the night, because we've been talking about this all season long. Was there any conversation between Abraham and Eugene after Abraham punched out Eugene? And then the show
Right.
just didn't do anything for that for the entire season. But boy, I love Eugene. I
I know
really
you do.
He's
Yeah.
he's so good. Just that when he's on the screen. He's really, really good. He might be behind Carol, I think, for my second favorite performance on the show.
Eugene, number 2.
Yeah.
Wow. Number 1 in the hair department, obviously.
Number 1 in the hair department.
Yeah.
Carol, not that high on the hair department.
I love Carol's hair.
But I do, too. That's why I get the same haircut as her.
I know, yeah. You guys love it.
But that being said, Eugene is really fantastic.
Yeah, Eugene's great. That was really awesome. I really like the resolution to the Eugene and Abraham stuff. I'm glad that we got that. I think we needed that. And yeah, it spells good things about their future together. They seem to have it's water under the fire truck for the two of them at this point. And hopefully they will be good moving forward.
Yeah. So Rosita 100% dropped the thing on purpose so that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, come on. Of course. Absolutely.
Also, I do have to say the show kind of yada yada the Tara stuff.
Well, they didn't really do anything with the Tara stuff. She's still
Tara,
just unconscious.
She needed surgery or she needed whatever. Carol had to go and get in Pete's face about, hey, you better go and check on Tara.
Right.
And seemingly that he did go do that.
Yeah, I guess he must have.
In between, coming and deciding to kill everybody at the town meeting with the sword, he did decide to go and fix Tara.
Yeah.
Okay, so Pete's not all bad.
Well, he's not all anything anymore. He's dead.
He's dead. Okay.
He's all dead.
And just to tie up the Carol stuff, that scene with Pete was so great, especially considering the fact that she never got to, talk to her husband that actually abused her in the way that she gets in Pete's face. And so that must have been a very cathartic thing for Carol.
Yeah, it was great.
A Carol-thartic thing.
Yeah, I mean, the last time, really kind of the only confrontational conversation Carol ever had with her husband, with Ed, was not with words but with a pickaxe and slamming that pickaxe into her husband's dead head. That's not much of a conversation. That's fairly one-sided. And in this time she gets to stand up to a living, breathing asshole who is very much a representative of her husband, is very much cut from that same cloth, a douche, if you will. Yeah. And she is able to just read him the riot act and say, I could kill you right now. I will kill you right now. Just when she goes from could to will, it's just kind of like, oh wow, we're really escalating here. So yeah, that whole scene was fantastic, and I know you've been down on the Pete storyline, and it hasn't been my favorite storyline either. But if it yielded that really great Carol moment, I'm almost 100% okay with it, because that Carol scene was tremendous. It was really good.
You're a small, weak nothing.
I know, yeah. Oh man, truer words. I mean, that really hit close to home for me, to be honest.
Yeah. Can I tell you one other Carol thing that I loved when Rick was sleeping in the beginning of the episode, and Michonne wakes him up, and then everybody else comes in, and when Carol comes and she starts acting like Rick acted alone.
Yes.
And talks about well, you took that gun out of the armory. That was stupid, Rick.
Yeah, you're a real dummy. Why did you do that?
Yeah, she dresses him down in front of everybody for the plan. I mean, Carol could be up there with all of the great TV liars. That she's right there with Frank Underwood at this point.
She's really good. She's really good. Yeah.
Now, Rick, that was dumb.
Yes.
Now, why would you go into the armory and take out a gun? And we all know that would be a bad plan.
Yeah, man. She was really good. She was great. Carol Underwood is a good character. Everything about Alexandria Carroll has just been a fantastic, fantastic part of this season.
Yeah.
Look, I gotta say, I really do think season 5 of The Walking Dead has been the best season of The Walking Dead. I think that after tonight, I feel pretty good about declaring season 5 the best season of The Walking Dead. There was just so much great stuff this season. There was some down moments as well. I don't feel good about the Grady Hospital storyline, but other than last week, I don't feel like there's been a clunker in these past 8 episodes, and I don't even think I would call last week a clunker. I would say it's the obvious weakling of that 8 for me. But I've loved this Alexandria storyline. I think that it's been really good. It's been fairly faithful to what's in the comics, but it's taken some really fun liberties as well, because there's a lot of characters in the mix that just don't exist in the comics. And I think that it's a cool new speed for the show. I think that it's interesting to have our people in a community, and an established community at that. They build the prison with their own 2 hands, or however many hands all of these people have together. It's a lot of people, many hands. They built that on their own steam, and to walk into a place and have to kind of rehabilitate an established place, I think is a really interesting story idea for Rick and everybody to kind of have to acclimate to this world and make the world acclimate to them a little bit. So I'm really happy with how they pulled that off. I think that the show did a really wonderful job with that stuff. And I think that it's going to be very interesting going into season 6 to still have Alexandria in play, and to see if this place is a place worth fighting for, and if it can be fought for. So I'm really excited about The Walking Dead right now. I think it's really in a good stride at this point, and I hope it carries over into next season.
And just one other quick question before we get to the questions from the listeners. The photos that the Wolves found, where did those photos come from?
I think that those are Aaron's, right? Aaron has a folder that he goes out with when he goes recruiting. I mean, if you remember when they captured Aaron, when he first introduced himself to Rick and his gang in the barn, he shows them Polaroids of what Alexandria looks like. So it's a dossier on Alexandria, and that's not great for the Wolves to have.
Yeah, but so let me just get this straight. So Aaron takes pictures of Rick and Carl, and then has a dark room at his house and develops photos?
Of Rick and Carl? Were Rick and Carl pictured in this file?
I believe that was the picture that was shown, and it was Rick with a shaved beard. So it had to have been taken at Alexandria.
So it's probably showing look, we've got fathers with their children here.
And it's dark rooms.
It's part of the sales pitch.
Yeah, but that he has a photo lab in his house?
Rob, you're nitpicking too much for my taste. I'm sorry. I can't entertain the dark room.
That's a nitpick?
That's a huge nitpick, Rob. I'm ready to move on from the dark room.
There's no dark room in Alexandria.
All right.
The Polaroid is one thing. I'll give the
Polaroid is a Polaroid.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm buying the Polaroid. I'm selling Aaron's dark room.
Okay, fine.
Let's see if Aaron's dark room shows up on Twitter tomorrow. All right. Let's go ahead and go to
Aaron's dark room douche. I think is going to happen.
Aaron's dark room douche. Okay. All right. Like that, you no tolerance for my dark room nitpicking.
All right, let's
Um,
get into some questions, okay?
Umberto, what does he have to say?
All right, Umberto says, okay, so from Gabriel crying to Abraham, Rosita, Eugene, and Tara, those four could make a killer sitcom. Do you like Abraham, Rosita, Eugene, and Tara as a sitcom?
What do we call that? Gret?
Uh, Rate, R-A-T-E is a word. Terror,
Yeah.
T-A-R-E.
I did like.
Tara,
It was almost like a Great reunion at the
a
hospital
little
tonight,
bit.
minus Maggie and Glenn.
Yeah, I would have really liked a full-scale Graham reunion. I
That
hope
was
that we
just a
get.
rate.
Yeah, that was just a rate. I would like a Graham episode next season. I'm gonna put that out there as an official request.
You want to all grade them?
Yeah, all Graham. I want an all Graham episode.
Not for anything. The actual all grade episode was not that great.
Yeah, but I like those guys.
Do I have to remind you of the going to get water from the river errand?
That wasn't
That had no
that wasn't
payoff whatsoever.
the Graham episode, though. I mean, that wasn't the only thing that there was the Graham dedicated episode I really liked when it was just them, when it was the Abraham flashbacks, and when Eugene reveals he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I liked that episode. I thought that was good.
Yeah. I mean, could Aaron just have like a phone that he charges and takes pictures on the phone and then shows them?
Get over it. Get out of here with your talk about the darkroom.
All right. Stephanie wants to say, no blood on Father Gabriel's white shirt? What's up with that?
Ooh wee. Yeah. What is up with that? He's very clean. I mean, this guy. Listen, he goes out there and he's just like he's so scared of blood. Just nothing touches Father Gabriel.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I get through with him.
Yeah.
All right. Jason wants to say, what's with that lighting change? Wasn't it like bright daylight when Rick found the gate open?
Yeah, it went from afternoon to evening time pretty fast.
Yeah, well, Rick was like running around, laps around Alexandria, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Castlevania. Night falls and all of the zombies come out.
Wow, I can't believe we
Yeah.
have a Castlevania reference, I think, for the first time on post-show
I
recaps.
think so. Simon Belmont for the win.
All right, what does John Franco have to say?
All right, John Franco says, can we all agree Abraham had the most convincing statement for Rick? Yeah, I'll give it to Abraham. I do love Carol's thing, but Abraham saying that whole thing about there's an ocean of shit out there was pretty good. I liked that quite a bit.
Okay, let's go to our next question. Great job by Abraham. Stephanie says, did Rick get some Walker blood in his mouth? Blah, yuck, gross.
Yeah, it looked like it, right?
Yeah, well, we've talked about this many times on the show that I'm always concerned about the bodily fluids with the zombie stuff, and everybody always says, no, I don't know, you don't understand how it works.
Yeah, I think just generally speaking, you got to be concerned about bodily fluids in life, but also on The Walking Dead. But Rick does get that splashed on his face, and you know what? I'm sure he's going to be fine. I'm sure that he's going to make it out of that A-okay.
His life is fine.
So did he actually just like squeeze that Walker's head into an exploding pulpy mess?
It was so dark in that shot, and
Yeah.
we've had this complaint about the show a couple times.
Lighting is an issue.
And I wasn't even watching on a Slingbox. I'm watching on like DirecTV, and it was so dark. I really was like, should I pause this and make the brightness on my TV as bright as possible? And I just decided to wing it. And I think he like put like his hand up through the walker's head and then just like out the back.
Yeah, it was just disgusting, and just like a testament to how amazing Rick Grimes is. That he was just, and like the look on his face too. He was like at such ease. Like everything was so peaceful for him in that moment. He just had no problem just annihilating this walker. I think he was really enjoying it. It was probably pretty cathartic after the shitty day he had earlier.
Yeah, he loved it.
He loved it. Yeah.
All right. What about Dave Baker? It says crazy or sane? Rick, Father Gabriel, Morgan. Okay,
All right.
go down the line. Crazy or sane? Rick.
Crazy sane.
Crazy like a fox.
Yeah, crazy like a fox. Father Gabriel, crazy like an idiot.
Yes, and Morgan.
Crazy like a saint.
Yes, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good. All right. Michael Rajpal, what does he have to say?
All right, Michael Rajpal says, do you think Deanna will hand over control of Alexandria to Rick, or will she keep it? It's a good question. I mean,
Can't hand over control.
Well, she gave him the keys at the very end of the episode. She turns to him and she sees the light after stupid Doctor whatever his face has killed Reg. She says, "Do it, kill him, get it done." So I don't know. I think that at the very least she's going to be much more open-minded to his leadership suggestions. At the very least.
Let me make an example, and let me try to keep this in as generic as possible because it's a sports analogy.
Oh, gosh.
Sometimes,
I'm tuning out.
Sometimes in the NFL, there's a coach who only is good on one side of the ball. And I'm not going to name names and offend fan bases who have coaches like this, but sometimes there's a coach that only knows defense, for instance, and then you hire like an offensive coordinator this guy he really knows offense. So you put them together, even though that person's the head coach, you bring in like a superstar coordinator on the other side of the ball. And that's sort of like Deanna, that she really sucks at, like, she's a good leader, but she sucks. She doesn't know anything about defenses. And so she's bringing in Rick, who's like a real taskmaster on that side of the ball. And hopefully that will balance things out. And she doesn't even have to think about that.
You done?
That was very generic.
I just don't know what it means. I don't know what a coach is and all that stuff.
You don't know what a coach is?
No, I know what a coach is.
Not a Dragon Slayer.
Not a Dragon Slayer. Zombie Slayer.
All right, Mark Solera.
All right, Mark Solera writes, if Rick has a showmance next season, who is it with, Jesse, Michonne, or Morgan? The way those two locked eyes at the end of the season, I have a hard time betting against Rick and Morgan. What are we calling that, Rorgan?
I don't think we're having a Rick Morgan showmance.
Only in my heart.
Yeah.
No, I think, listen, the deck is cleared for the Rick and Jesse thing to happen, you would think, right? I mean, he did
I think the deck is clear for the Rick and Morgan thing.
Oh, really? So you are shipping Rorgan.
Clear, yeah. So I don't think Rick is having a showmance with Jesse.
I think so.
No,
I think so.
Michelle.
Maybe he's got a little bit of work to do in terms of atoning for murdering her husband, but everybody seems pretty cool with that.
Because by my last check, Jesse, I believe, is now officially, Jesse, are you ready to be single and ready to mingle?
Yeah,
she's back.
She's back.
She's back on the market.
She is. She's fair game.
All right, John Franco says, so the reason to kill Dr. Douche is a drunken mishap?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was like drunk samuraiing is how Reg died. He's a victim of drunk samuraiing. And I do believe that, I think in the cold, sober light of day, maybe a guy isn't going to do what he did there. But listen, Deanna is in charge, and if Deanna says kill that man, you do what she says.
So Pete goes into everybody's houses when he's drunk? How does he know Michonne has a samurai sword?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Is there just nothing going on in Alexandria? Like, hey, did you hear about
that crazy chick, that new constable has a sword.
She's got a samurai sword at her house.
Yeah, you should see it. She'll let you hold it. It's real cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is Emily Stobbs, the Great Big Brother Canada live feed reporter?
Awesome. Emily Stobbs. Emily Stobbs writes, why did Father Gabriel go out into the woods unarmed as well as leaving the gate open purposely? Is he trying to ruin Alexandria? And if so, what is his reason? So I
talked through the first part.
Yeah, so why did he leave the gate open purposely? I wonder, was it on purpose, or is he just like was it like when Paul Rudd cleans up all of the silverware from the lunchroom in Wet Hot American Summer and is just really lazy about it and does a terrible job? Is that what Father Gabriel was doing? Is he just really lazily closed the gate? Or did he intentionally just leave it open because he wanted everything bad to happen?
I think that has to be somewhat intentional, right?
Yeah, if only subconsciously.
Yeah, because if it was totally an accident, you think he would feel bad or something like that.
Yeah, instead of like
these people don't deserve this place. That's why I have to let the walkers in.
And also so he's in the prayer circle with Sasha and Maggie at the end of the episode. You don't think that at one point he's like, oh guys, oh I forgot something.
Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was an accident.
It was an accident. Yeah. So I don't know. It's like ooh.
He has the Catherine O'Hara in Home Alone moment,
Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here?
Yeah. We lost him.
Yeah.
He's home alone. All right, Justin Sharkey says, was Morgan disappointed in Rick for killing Pete, or was he just surprised that he finally found him after searching for so long?
I think probably a combo platter, but I'm gonna put 2 scoops of disappointment on the plate.
Is this just a moment that, over beers in a couple days, like, you should have seen the look on your face when you walked in and I killing that guy?
Yeah. Oh, listen, Morgan, I know, but what a douche this guy. If only you'd seen him, you'd have been on board.
Yeah.
They'll smooth that over.
Okay. What'd you think of Rick's speech?
Better than last week.
Yes, better.
For sure.
Better speech than last week.
For sure.
Rick says that this was good. This was easy to dictate because Rick only says, like, when he gives a speech, he says like 4 or 5 words in a row and then pauses.
Slow talker.
Yeah, he says, the ones out there, they'll hunt us. They'll find us. They'll try to use us. They'll try to kill us. We'll survive. I'll show you. How many of you, or he said, I was thinking, how many of you do I have to kill to save your lives? I'm not going to do that. You're going to change. I'm not sorry for what I said last night. I'm sorry for not saying it sooner. You're not ready, but you have to be. Luck runs out. So good closing speech for Rick.
Good speech. Yeah, I'd vote for that guy.
Kelly Khan, best season finale so far. My heart is still beating fast.
Oh, man. It was a great season finale. You know what? Here's a complaint that I've got. You ready? I think that the final set of scenes were really intense. My heart as well was beating rather fast. And I was at the edge of my seat waiting to see what was going to happen next. And then it cuts to commercial. And it kept doing that. It was very commercial heavy with this 90-minute episode. And I'd be curious to get the final runtime on the episode itself. Was this just an excuse for a butt ton of commercials? Because I think it kind of disrupted the flow of what was otherwise a really action-packed episode.
Can you rank the season finales real quick?
If you go to mtv.com/news.
You've done that already?
I've done that before, yeah. And I'll update my rankings tomorrow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at you, Josh Wigler.
I'll tweet out a link if you follow along tomorrow morning. I'll send it out.
Okay, let's do 2 or 3 more questions.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, this is from Andrew Brockman. Yes, Andrew Brockman says, so what is the Wolves' shtick? What's their grand plan for survival? I don't know. I don't know what's up with the Wolves. These Wolves are, real jerk-offs. I mean, what they did with this whole lure people out into the middle of a parking lot was really terrible.
Yeah. No, they're like trying to like punk people also in addition to killing them.
Yeah, you got wolfed.
You got wolfed when you walk in there.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll see more people go into their trap?
To that specific trap?
Yes.
Is that the only one they've got?
Ooh, well, the other guy did say they like to set traps.
Nah, that's true. That's true. So they probably have a bunch of traps. Yeah, I would have to imagine we're going to see a few more of those traps.
Could you follow what the guy was saying that was talking to Morgan about everything gets a return? Did that have any significance to you?
Everything returns.
Including the governor.
Including the governor.
Pay
Pay the bill. Yeah, I think that it's just a whole lot of we're coming back from this and yada yada yada. I don't know. It's a little over my head, to be honest.
Yeah. What was the guy talking about with the everybody thought the first people turned into wolves and
yeah, it's like very tribal type of stuff. Like it's like ancient times, like mythology and all this nonsense. And with this apocalypse wiping out humanity, it's like it's time to reclaim an older way, an older code. And I think that these guys are trying to be back and bring that back. It's terrifying.
The wolf code?
Wolf code. Wolf pack.
The wolf pack. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll see what's going to happen when we get our inevitable season 6 poster of The Walking Dead that just says like it's wolves are near, like spray painted on a wall.
Yep.
Yes. I could save everybody at AMC a lot of work this summer. That's just what it is.
I like how you're saying that as if making that poster is a lot of work.
It's already done.
It's already done.
It's already done.
Yeah.
Josh, can we tease what's coming up this week on post-show recaps?
Sure. Walking Dead is going to be off the air for a while. We're not going to have Walking Dead back on the air until October. Although, as we didn't talk about this, maybe let's talk about this for a second first. What did you think of that trailer for the Walking Dead spinoff that aired during this episode? Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah, I'm pumped up for the Walking Dead sequel.
Fear the Walking Dead.
Yes.
Are you pumped up for the name of Fear the Walking Dead?
No, I think they screwed up the name.
Should we do a think tank on better names for Fear the Walking Dead?
Right now?
Yeah. What do you got?
Okay. Walking Dead, Los Angeles.
Walking Dead, Batman Begins.
That would be better also?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about Walking Dead West?
Walking Dead, before Walking Dead.
Walking Dead 90210.
You got me. Walking Dead Melrose Place is the only other one that would compete. Walking Dead DOC.
Yeah, Fear the Walking Dead seems very confusing.
Yeah, dumb title. Dumb title, but a cool concept. You know, I like the idea of going back to, visiting this world, seeing what this world is like, but before, we're at the height of the apocalypse, just as the fit is about to hit the shan. I think that's a really cool idea for The Walking Dead. I like that. It's got a really great cast. It's got Cliff Curtis, really good actor. Kim Dickens, who's a fantastic actress, who's popping up everywhere right now, and it's really awesome that she's having this kind of big moment. I think that the cast is pretty top notch. Setting's going to be pretty cool. That's going to happen this summer. So, Rob, I mean, we're not going to be back with The Walking Dead proper until October, but safe to say that we're going to be talking about Fear the Walking Dead this summer?
You better believe it. So is this prequel, is it going to stay in the prequel time, or is it going to catch up?
I mean, I would imagine over the course of this series, progressing, it's going to, get much deeper into the thick of the apocalypse. I think it kind of has to, but it's going to start certainly earlier than what we've seen on The Walking Dead before.
Okay.
So it should be interesting. That'll happen this summer, so that's something to look forward to for your next Walking Dead fix. And, of course, we'll have a Walking Dead feedback show coming up this week. So we're not totally done with The Walking Dead quite yet. We are, however, gearing up for another awesome Sunday night show.
Yes.
Another show that is near and dear to my heart and Rob's heart. Game of Thrones is coming back soon.
And 2 weeks from tonight, it will be the season premiere of Season 5 of Game of Thrones. How about that?
I'm so pumped. I cannot wait for Game of Thrones to come back. I love this show so dearly. It's just a tremendous thing. And I'm so excited, in fact, Rob, that I can't wait to start podcasting with you about Game of Thrones. We got to start podcasting about it this week. Let's do this week if we can.
Yeah, so we contacted Walder Frey, and we are going to cross the bridge to Game of Thrones, Josh.
Yes, that is true.
The two-week bridge, yeah.
I had to promise to marry one of his daughters, which is awkward because I'm married already.
We had to promise the podcast about his favorite show, Gilmore Girls. So
yes,
it's
right.
like, boy, that's one it's going to be tough to back out of.
It's kind of awkward too, because he demanded to be Spencer Bledsoe's co-host on our Gilmore Girls coverage. It's going to be a really kind of awkward hour of podcast.
He demanded that Josh podcast about Season 2 of The Strain.
Yes. Oh, no, I'm not doing it.
Josh, I told him you and Antonio were on it. He wants every episode.
Thumbs down, breaking news.
Very adamant.
Not happening. Not
happening. Strain podcast coming back.
Not happening.
I don't know why. He seemed very hung up on that.
Oh, God. Strigoi. Not good. Not good. But yeah, Game of Thrones. That's the thing that's happening. We're going to do some podcasts this week, right, Rob?
Yes. What we want to hear from you guys is we want to get your voicemails, just like we did on Rob as a Podcast, the Road to the Podcast Awards. We're calling this the Road to Westeros, where Josh and I will be doing short podcasts, like 10 minutes a day, answering one of your questions. So you can go ahead and phone them in at postshowrecaps.com/voicemail. Or we'll also come up with a Game of Thrones email address as well, so you guys can send in some email questions as well. So we'll answer one question a day, and it will be about the TV show. We won't be book spoilers, even though Josh does get into that on our separate spoiler book show.
Yes, Game of Thrones Book Club with Terry Schwartz. That's going to be coming back soon. We are hoping to have an episode of that this week as well. So once the season starts up, we'll be doing that weekly. So lots to be excited about. Lots of cool stuff happening.
All right, let's do one more question.
One more question, sure.
Okay, here we go. Spicy Wasabi says, Maggie and Sasha seem to forgive Gabriel. Should we forgive him as well?
No.
No. No forgive. Sorry.
Noah.
Noah is right. We didn't even like him in the first place.
No, he's out. I'm out on Gabriel.
I'm out. We're out.
We're out on Gabriel. It was really awesome when he decapitated that one walker. He should have dropped the mic, and that should have been the end of Father Gabriel right there.
He should have gone and taken a long nap with those walkers with Sasha.
Yes,
all right, well, one last question.
Okay, let's see.
John Franco Gervasio says, if Michonne wields the sword and Morgan uses the staff, who learns how to use the sai and nunchucks to form the Walking Dead Ninja Turtles?
Ah, the Walking Dead Ninja Turtles. Yes, so I guess Michonne is Leonardo.
Yes.
Morgan is Donatello. Who's going to have the sai and the nunchucks?
Does Morgan do machines?
That's kind of awkward.
Who's cool but rude?
Who's cool but rude seems to be Daryl Dixon.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
And who's a party dude?
Well, Carl did eat all of that chocolate pudding back in season 4.
And
Then again, Abraham has been drinking like a mofo.
But Eugene is party in the front.
He is party in the front.
Party
in the back, business in the front. So is he like Donatello in the front and Michelangelo in the back?
Leonardo in the front, Michelangelo in the back.
Got it.
Okay.
No, he's just faking being Donatello.
All right. All right, so there you have it. Walking Dead Season 5, we did it. We started this journey back, October?
October.
Wow, and here we are.
Here we are. And we will do it all over again in October of later this year, and we will do Fear the Walking Dead this summer whenever that's happening. So lots to do. Lots to do here on Post Show Recaps. Having a great time with you, Rob.
All right.
Just don't bring up the dark room again, please.
Is that the hashtag?
Aaron's dark room.
What else you got? What else?
What else?
I don't like it to be a negative thing.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of just stuck in Aaron's dark room.
How about Walking Dead 90210?
Walking Dead 90210? Sure, that's easy.
Okay. So, we got a lot going on right now. Let's just reset everything happening here on post-show recaps. All right. Josh and I mentioned the Road to Westeros podcast series. That's going to start this week, probably Tuesday. Get your questions in postshowrecaps.com/voicemail as we are going to be crossing the twins to get to Westeros and Walking Dead 2 weeks from tonight. Also, that's coming up. We have tomorrow night, Better Call Saul, episode 9. 2 episodes left on Better Call Saul before we get to that finale, which is going to be a week from Monday. So 8 days until the Better Call Saul finale. Josh, how long until the Justified finale?
We're up to the third to last episode of Justified in this final season.
2 weeks from Tuesday, right?
Yeah. I was just telling a friend who's a little bit behind on Justified who asked how this final season is going. And at the current pace, if they can keep up the quality that they've been dishing out, this is going to go down for me as one of my favorite final seasons of any show. So Justified is really on fire, and dare I say Antonio and I are on fire. The podcasts Tim and I are doing, I think, are the best podcasts Tim and I have ever done together. So if you like Justified but you haven't been listening to what Antonio and I are doing, I think you're missing out. You should definitely listen to what we've got coming up on Tuesday night.
Plus, we've got podcasts about Once Upon a Time, podcasts about the Justin Bieber roast coming up this week.
Oh, man. Who's doing that? Is that a Mike Bloom special?
I believe it's Mike and Akiva are on that.
Let me just tease that I have a pretty great Mike Bloom podcast coming up later this week as well.
By the way, I also recorded the SNL recap with The Rock, hosted by The Rock. That was from earlier tonight.
You did a podcast with The Rock?
Yes. A.K.A. Rich Tackenberg. And Rich Tackenberg was here in the studio, and we talked about what I thought was my favorite SNL episode in a while.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. I love The Rock. I've been binge watching the Fast and Furious movies recently, and he is fantastic. I want to I don't know. I want to get into a fight with him so that he can say funny things to me.
They say he's franchised Viagra, Josh.
Is that true?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so it all ties together with The Rock and Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, the Seinfeld podcast is back. We just started season 4 of the Seinfeld podcast, so new Seinfeld podcast recap every week on Post Show Recap. So it's all happening.
All happening. Lots of good stuff.
Right. All right, everybody. So looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say in the comments. And thank you, so much for a very fun season of Walking Dead coverage. And we will talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody.